John, you can hear us and see us, and we're
Yes.
ready to roll?
Yes, thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to the Washington State University Board of Regents January 2024 meeting. Happy 2024 to everyone. We are delighted to be here in Seattle, and as President Schultz just mentioned, we had a long day yesterday, and the weather's the same as it was yesterday as it is today. And the excitement, though, in the room for being in a place that is about hope and cure and care is really infectious in the most positive way. So I'd like to start this morning by acknowledging that WSU's locations statewide are on the homelands of Native peoples who have lived in this region from time immemorial. The university expresses its deep respect for and gratitude toward these original and current caretakers of the region. I'd also like to be clear about how members of our WSU community can reach us and provide feedback. We always appreciate it when we are able to interact with those that have interest in sharing their feedback with the university and with the Board of Regents. There's a link to the live stream on YouTube that's available on the WSU Board of Regents website. Public comment is welcome at this meeting at the designated time, which will be after the regular agenda items. The time allocated for this will be up to 10 minutes, and each speaker will be allowed to speak up to 2 minutes. A timer will be visible to help you keep track of time and for me to help keep track of time. For speakers who are in person, I'll announce your name when it's your opportunity to speak. And at that time, we'll ask that you come up to the presenters table. For speakers participating virtually, you'll remain muted until I call on you, and at that time, we'll unmute you and return you to mute when you've concluded your feedback. Preference will be given to speakers who have signed up in advance and who are speaking on matters that are related to what is before the board or will be in front of the board for future action items. The time to submit a public comment for this meeting has closed. If you do wish to submit a public comment, we're always interested in hearing from you. Online, you can do so at request and request feedback from us at regents.wsu.edu, by emailing regents@wsu.edu, or visiting with the board's assistant, Tracy Jordahl. I just want to add that we take all of the feedback that we are sent seriously. We are responsive and interested in hearing from our community. When we do have public comment, occasionally you'll find that we'll reach out after the board meeting and have a separate one-on-one meeting so that we can better understand what the challenges or opportunities are and what your feedback can do to help us continue to do the great work that we do at WSU. I want to start my report by thanking Dr. Jeff Spearing and the staff at Seattle Children's Hospital. Not only were we greeted with such a warm, open hug from this group, but we also were able to witness education in action with middle schoolers that were here learning about science, being able to see the excitement from the researchers that are collaborating. And this has been really a partnership that has been built over a long period of time. And I want to not only demonstrate my appreciation to Seattle Children's Research Institute, but also to our president, Kirk Schultz, who has done a great job of stewarding this partnership, and one of our regents, Regent Pika, who played a different role at Seattle Children's, but it's been really exciting to see Regent Pika be able to see this all come to fruition. So partnerships like this don't happen overnight. They take time, they take cultivation, and I think a real commitment to one another. The work that is being done here at Seattle Children's is inspiring. And the idea that we're not only working with them with a whole range of possibilities, but combining both scientists and researchers with doctors that are out taking care of kids and making the world better. It's just really hard not to get on board with and find more opportunities for us to combine the work of Seattle Children's with our land grant mission and serve the entire state of Washington. Since our last Regents meeting, our Regents continue to be very busy and active and supportive of what's happening in the WSU community. On December 9th, Regents Blankenship, Cerna, Marroquin, McDonald, Ramos, and I celebrated 875 graduates receiving their degrees at the fall 2023 commencement on the Pullman campus. It's an honor to be on stage, and I will just say a little nerve-wracking to be on stage and maybe step in front of the microphone. While it may seem like it's not a big deal, I will say that when you look out at the stands of all of the folks that are not only there to cheer on their student that may be graduating, but that are Coug fans, it just continues to make me grateful and admire those that stand on that stage every time we have commencement. It is an honor to be there, and it's exciting and electric to be in that room. We also had the opportunity on January 16th for Regents Dickinson and Ramos, joined by President Schultz, to meet with Governor Jay Inslee and provide an overview of our athletic journey over the last 6 months. This is a really great moment for us to have the opportunity to meet with our governor. Each of us are appointed by our governor, and so the ability for us to continue to create that strong relationship with Governor Inslee is really important. And I appreciate the leadership of both Regent Ramos and Dickinson to attend that meeting, as I was stuck in ice in Portland. Regent Cerna presented WSU at the annual Regents and Trustee Day at the Capitol on January 18th. He, along with representatives from the 6 Washington Public, Baccalaureate, Community, and Technical colleges, met with a series of legislators throughout the day to advocate for continued statewide support of our post-secondary education, for resources for students' mental health and basic needs, and support for our compensation packages that will help us retain and recruit high-quality educators and staff. Regent Cerna, also very busy this month, will be presenting and representing the Board of Regents again on February 26th, when he will be the keynote speaker at the WSU engagement event, Cougs in the Desert, held in Palm Desert, California. This annual event brings together Cougar alumni, fans, and donors in the area, and includes an auction that raises money for scholarships for WSU students with financial need. So thank you, Regent Cerna. Lastly, I want to acknowledge Black History Month, which will begin on February 1st. WSU's participation in this tribute represents the commitment to our service mission and supporting equity through education. We want you to watch online for ways to be involved with this celebration. I just want to end with, as we wrap up January and we look to the future in February, and in particular, the opportunity to celebrate Black History Month, I am reminded of a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. that I thought would be important for us to set the tone as we move into 2024 and the opportunity for some political divisiveness as we look at campaigns on a national level. Martin Luther King said, "Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into friend." And when you are involved in something as inspiring as helping to educate the future, it is difficult to imagine that love is not a part of that. And so I really want to just express my gratitude for being here, being in this role today, serving with each of my fellow regents, and recognize that as we consider how equity plays a role in our work this next year, how we also consider how we find ways to unify as opposed to look at ways that divide us. So with that, I will turn the floor over to President Schultz for his report.
Good morning. Well, good morning, and once again, I want to express my appreciation as well to Seattle Children's, to Jeff, to Doug, and all the folks that made this possible. And when we shifted around doing some additional meetings in Seattle, I think this really represents one of the reasons to do that. Is this just allowed us to have a partnership discussion and immersion that would be very difficult to get any other way. And so I hope we continue to look for other partners in the Seattle-based area when we have meetings here, just to make sure that we continue to have these immersive experiences where we're bringing a lot to the table. We have a lot of expertise at all of our campuses that can make a big difference in the greater Seattle area. So anyway, thrilled to be here, and thank you for setting that up. Before I get into my formal update, just a couple things that I want to point out. Regent Cerna last night sent us a copy of a Crosscut story that was talking about the impact of the LCNS Floyd College of Medicine, the fact that we've got our first set of folks coming out that have graduated, gone through residencies, and they really tell the story of one particular individual who, came to WSU to be able to go back to his community in the state of Washington and serve as a physician in that area. It's a really well done, inspiring story, and many of you have been around a while, and remember, that's the reason that we have the Floyd College of Medicine, is to do this, and it's neat to start seeing some of these come out. I appreciate the job that Phil and his team and all of our Marcom people are doing across all of our campuses. I think the message from the board that we need to continue to do our storytelling about WSU well. These are the types of things that we see coming out. The other thing is, it was just released in the last week or so that the NSF HERD survey results are out that just lists the research expenditures from the top university on down, and WSU moved up one spot in those. And this is our faculty. It really is our outstanding faculty performing research, doing grant work, and to see that continue to increase, and for us nationally to increase our presence, I think I can't say enough about the exceptional people we have across our system at WSU. So two nice ways to start off my report. Lisa already mentioned a few of the things around the celebration of the life and impact of Martin Luther King. We also had our second day of National Day of Racial Healing on the 16th of January. With both of these types of things, we have system-wide celebrations, acknowledgments. We have a service project that was done as part of the MLK Day. And the racial healing, we had people out in our communities across the state. I think especially I want to express my appreciation to all of our officers and leaders working in diversity, equity, and inclusion space. It's right now nationally, particularly in higher education. In some states, it's under attack, it's being defunded and things like that. The work in this space is hard to begin with. It's even harder when you can look just one state over and you've got colleagues that are being really negatively impacted by some of the attack on these types of programs around the country. As we do leadership searches, one of the things that I've mentioned that we want to mention to candidates is the state of Washington's different. We want to build a diverse workforce. We want a diverse student body. We want a student body and a workforce that is successful and feels welcomed, and that they've got colleagues around them that want to see them be really successful. It's a differentiator, I think, in the marketplace now, and we need to make sure that we're not just doing the programs, but we're waving the flag and we're proud of the work that we're doing. So we're going to keep at it, and I appreciate the leadership, the involvement, the engagement of our senior leadership team, our faculty, staff, and students across the system. Well, we always have changes that occur in leadership, and a pleasure to welcome Glenda Becker-Fenter into the role of Vice President for External Affairs and Government Relations. Glenda, as many of you know, directed our federal affairs area. I appreciate the outstanding job interim Vice President Chris Mulick did following Colleen Burr's departure to work at Microsoft. And so I know many of you met Glenda. She was here yesterday, and we look forward to her positive leadership as we continue to make sure that WSU is telling a great story. We're advancing resource opportunities at the federal, state, and local level, and that we're seeing success in those particular spaces. We also welcome Mike Wolcott as our interim vice president for research. You all had a chance to meet Mike yesterday. He is a Regents professor. He's just done a really nice job. We've heard lots of positive excitement around the campus given his appointment, and I appreciate the job that Elizabeth did on managing that transition in a really smooth way. And I think it's been a less impact, the least amount of impact we can in a negative way, and a really upside. And as Mike said, he's not a permanent candidate for the permanent search. And you can say, well, why would somebody say something like that? It's really critical as we do a national search for next VPR that they know that this is not a sham search. I mean, we're actually going out and looking for a new person to be here. We'll have some outstanding internal candidates. We'll also have some outstanding external candidates as well. So I look forward to the board interacting with both these individuals over the course of the next year. Well, we we're in the final stages of finalizing and finishing up our negotiations with the newly formed graduate student and student union. It was about a year-long process. We came up with a tentative contract agreement. There's lots of work done on both sides to ratify and get everything done in a really positive way. I was able, when I was in Olympia, to spend some time with Senior Director for State Relations, Chris Mulick, talking to a lot of elected officials about the bargaining agreement and where we were with our graduate students. And we were also very upfront that we are asking for state support to cover the costs associated with compensating our graduate students the way that they need to be compensated. So at the end of the day, I think when we talk about strengthening Washington State University, this is a key component because our graduate students are key to our research enterprise. We need exceptional graduate students that feel supported, compensated, and want to come to Washington State University. We'd had that for a long time, and I think the last several years, a lot of faculty and people I talked to just said, hey, we've slid a bit here because we are just not competitive with where we are. So while it may be painful the way that we got to where we are, I just think it's going to be better for Washington State University in the long run. And I appreciate our human resources team, Elizabeth, Leslie, and several others that in the last month and a half or so of negotiations were able to lend a hand to our negotiating team. And at the end of the day, it's a team effort to get this done, both on the administrative side as well as the student bargaining team. So I think it's a good day for WSU, and really pleased that we can get this ratified and put this behind us and keep moving ahead, building our academic reputation. Well, I was, when you say you have an open schedule in Olympia, our government relations team says, well, Kirk doesn't need sleep. We need him visiting people. So I think we did something like 32 or 33 individual visits. We had several dinners, had time with the governor, and appreciate all of those types of things. We met with House and Senate leadership, both on the majority and minority side, and we're able to really talk about WSU and the types of things that we want to do. Just as a reminder, everybody gets really excited sometimes about what we do during the session. To me, I just want to remind the board, government relations is a year-round job. A lot of what we do on those short meetings is remind people of conversations that we had during the summer, during off sessions, where you spend an hour and a half, or 2 hours with a member talking about what we're doing at Washington State University, why a land-grant university should be doing certain things, new programs that we feel the state needs, that we feel we are positioned best to deliver. And then what happens, we get to go in somebody's office and say, that last summer when we sat on your porch and we talked about this, that's in front of you now. We need your help. And I had very positive conversations about our initiatives on both sides of the aisle. And I think we always will visit with anybody who wants to see us. It's always interesting the first day when you're there, people sort of see that you're around, and it does make a difference having university leadership in the Capitol for multiple days. And we always like to go near the beginning of the session because, like Jeff mentioned this morning, I believe this is really relationship building, advocating what we need. But it's nice now to sit down with people that I've spent 8 legislative sessions talking about WSU stuff, and you have a depth of relationship that means you can sometimes have tougher conversations than you could have if you're just meeting somebody for the first time. So we didn't take pictures of every single meeting that we did, but we tried to get a sampling out there so that people on social media could see, we're there and advocating. One of the fun things we got to do too is we have student lobbyists there, and we had ASWSU student lobbyists from Vancouver, from Pullman, and then our graduate and professional student association lobbyist was there as well. So we had a chance to kind of sit down with them for about 30 or 45 minutes and just hear how your visit's going. What are you hearing? How can we be supportive? What kind of things can we make sure we're doing together? And I'm really proud of the job our students do, sitting down and really advancing things that are important to our students at Washington State University. They're very professional, and our WSU Vancouver lobbyist there was actually doing testimony in front of the legislature the day that we were there. And I was like, "Are you nervous?" and all that. And she's, "Man, I'm prepared. I'm ready to go." She was a lot calmer than I would have been. So anyway, it's always impressive to see our students and what they do. We've had 2 really nice announcements recently of some new investments, grants, and extension that are going to make a difference in the state. One is a grant that's going to provide additional technology for some of our extension sites that are suitable for WSU students and others to be able to do online classes and things like that there. Now, it's not just Washington State University classes, it's online delivery methods, then it can be training things and things like that. So I think it's going to be at 8 or 11 different places around the state. And I think this is utilizing our extension sites for the betterment of the state of Washington. The other program that we have is really going to also focus on folks farming in underrepresented areas that need help with finances and how to apply for loans and the types of things they need to be successful in agriculture and the farming community. And when you talk about meeting state needs and meeting rural and underserved areas, extension is always talked about, but it's really neat to see these 2 new investments coming into extension and us making a difference in the state. Well, we've been in the news for a bunch of different things. I mentioned the Crosscut article. A lot of people saw this in the Seattle Times about the outstanding work done by the College of Veterinary Medicine. And Dory Borgeson, our dean, as soon as this came out, I think Elizabeth and I and others hey, you got to go check this out. And it was a fantastic story. I just want to reiterate, I know that our Phil and our Marcom team continues to, we're investing and doing more in this space. And it's nice to see us in some of these really major publications, and not just for Cougs out there, but everybody going, hey, the land grant university is making a difference in the state. And I think we want to keep the storytelling alive. Well, fundraising is a large part of what I have the opportunity to do. It's something I enjoy. It's neat to talk to our alumni and friends, not just in the state of Washington, but around the United States. We were really fortunate right before the holidays. We secured a last major gift to establish an endowed deanship in the College of Business. And as we go out and recruit our next dean, this provides that particular leader with some discretionary resources that they know they always have. So that when students come and say, hey, we got this great idea, they don't have to go and try and find the money. They know they've got that ability. And in the academic world, having a title, a name that goes with a deanship, a professorship, a chair, also carries some academic prestige. So we appreciate it was done with 2 donors. It's almost the ideal world. We had the first donor say, I'll do it. I'll do a match. And then the second donor, we said, hey, we'd like you to do the rest of it. And that person came back and said, yes, I'll do it. So we'll be excited to have a formal announcement on this. You all will recognize the names of the individuals associated with this, but it's a really positive step forward for Washington State University and shows that we're continuing to get investments in areas to move our academic things forward. Next week, Mike and I and Lisa and others will be in Hawaii, and we've got a whole bunch of donor visits there, but we have an alumni event scheduled right now. We have over 200 people scheduled to come out that are Cougs in Hawaii, and families and things like that. And we do a really nice job with our AAPI students. And I think every time I'm over there for anything and wearing a Coug shirt, I've run into parents, I've run into former students and things like that. And so it'll be a fun time to be there for 3 or 4 days. We're visiting a lot of WSU investors that happen to be over there at this time of year. And so it'll be a busy several days, but we also get a lot of students from there. And we've done several orientation sessions that are also in Hawaii for Hawaii students. So it should be a really good visit and another opportunity for us to continue to provide opportunities to invest in Washington State University. Well, I'll finish with this, Cougar Athletics. If you said, Kirk, what types of things do you want to get done in the fall? All the work that we did around the conference and Cougar Athletics and things like that was not probably what was on my top 5 or 10 items. However, if you have not seen the article that came out this last couple days by John Wilner, the San Jose newspaper, he wrote this up and said, Washington State and Oregon State are ideally positioned for their future, and kind of went back over the last 6 months and some of the decisions. And so I likened it to being in a fog. You think you know where you're going to go, and then when you pop out, everybody goes, hey, you're in the right place. But I appreciate the work that Pat Chun, our athletic director, has done, the work that Leslie, John have done on the financial side. I appreciate the board's flexibility in giving me some time to say, Kirk, we need you to make sure that you're doing what you need to for Cougar Athletics. I appreciate our faculty support that we've had. There's some places we could have been working on this, and we've got all kinds of internal people going, hey, we need this and that. And I just felt we had the community behind our backs to say, let's land in a really good, positive place for WSU. And so now I think it's time to not play defense, shift to offense, and really map out our future. Also have to point out that our men's and women's basketball teams are both poised for postseason right now. Got to win a couple more games, but there was a few years ago we went into March and we had not won 10 games, and winning 13 and 14 now, and both in the conversation about the NCAA tournament. Very exciting for, I think, Cougar fans everywhere. And with that, I always appreciate the opportunity to spend time with the board strategically and with the things that we want to do. I'm looking forward to a great 2024. There are challenges in public higher education, but we've got the right people in place. We've got great faculty leadership, great student leadership, and I think we're poised for greatness in the upcoming year. So with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, President Schultz. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I just wanted to, from that story with the vet med on the eagle and the puppy, I don't know if everybody fully realizes that the vet med students collaborate with the nursing, medical, and pharmacy students to put on clinics that I get the privilege of being a sponsor of through my other hat. And because people will come get their vets or their pets taken care of, but they won't necessarily get themselves taken care of. And so to go and onto the campus at WSU Spokane and see people there with their pets and watch our med students and our nursing students and our pharmacy folks gently, graciously, and gradually encourage them to maybe come over to this other table to maybe have a couple things checked out. It's really quite remarkable. So that collaboration and the work being done between all of those schools is really impressive. So just appreciate the work that's being done there, collaborating and building that coalition. And the last thing I was going to say, and speaking on behalf maybe of Regent Ramos and Shower, having the opportunity to sit with the governor, but to have a president that was sitting next to us that we could just really hold up as somebody who had a steady hand through a significant, unprecedented crisis. And to be able to really put the light on Kirk and to tell the governor, how fortunate he is and how fortunate our state is to have Kirk at the helm of Washington State University through what we have just experienced. And I think everybody's like, well, it's brilliant that you've come out, just like you planned it, Kirk. But I think I want to acknowledge your ability to keep a steady and cool head in the moments of when you had an entire nation of Cougars wanting you to do something. And I think you took the right steps, Kirk, on behalf of our institution and quite frankly, on behalf of our state and most importantly, our student athletes. So thank you very much. It was a proud day to be able to validate the work that you and the OSU president have demonstrated through this process.
Yeah, thank you. At home, Noel's like, well, we did COVID and now the conference breakup. Let's have a relaxing year. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate the support. So.
Each of the Board of Regent meetings, we look forward to hearing from each of the campuses. And so today I'll invite Chancellor of the Global Campus, Dave Saleh, to provide a campus update. Chancellor Saleh. You gotta hit the mic, the green button. Thank you. Yeah.
You would think I would know how to use a microphone, but apologize. Before we start, just acknowledging, for whatever reason, I have a really sore neck. I'd love to say it's from a heroic act or a feat of strength of some kind, but it was just old age and a pillow in a hotel. So I'm probably not going to be making eye contact over here unless I turn like this. So just acknowledging that before we begin. So. Yeah, thanks for that. So what I thought I would do is provide a brief overview of some of the things that we're facing now and in the future. Give you a snapshot of what our enrollment and our programs look like, and then talk a little bit about some of the opportunities that we see going forward. So with that, I want to start with the challenges that we face primarily in online education. When we first started offering degrees at a distance, we were one of very few universities that did this. And it was kind of a build it and they will come philosophy. Those days are gone. Every public, most privates have some form of online education. But gradually over the last decade or so, probably even further back than that, we're starting to see alternatives. And these alternatives started out as partnerships. Publishers would have materials that would be delivered to universities, programs like Coursera and Udacity that would take courses and degree programs, deliver those online through a hub. And Laura, you mentioned this yesterday. The one that I see moving forward that is going to be a challenge are things like OpenAI Academy, where it is a direct competition with universities. Their stated mission is that they will deliver high school and college level programs using artificial intelligence. Now, there are some universities that are partnering with AI, and I'll say I don't necessarily see AI in general as a threat. I think there are some really interesting opportunities. I think some of the conversation that's going around is similar to what happened back in the days when we first introduced spell checkers and grammar tools. Those were a threat to some of the things that we did, but now they're everyday occurrence. I think I can see the same thing with AI. It just depends on how it's used, and so I think that's one of the challenges that we're going to have to wrestle with in the future. The other challenge, or the second challenge I see, are partnerships. So things like you saw in the news. Idaho and University of Phoenix, UMass and Brandman, Purdue and Kaplan, and Arizona and Ashford. So these were all for-profit. The partners were for-profit education providers, and for whatever reason have decided then to partner with a university for the name, the prestige, and the universities has decided to partner with them for instant access into the online market. They were late to the game, and I don't know about UMass, Elizabeth. They weren't late to the game, but Purdue, Arizona, Idaho did not have a big footprint by partnering. They've got that ability now to deliver nationally. These have the potential to be game changers, but for example, I think there was an article in Inside Higher Education. Inside Higher Education that mentioned that Purdue and the Kaplan relationship is really struggling. That something to the effect, Purdue has $120 million bill that's due to Kaplan that they, in the back room, say they can't make. And so I think some of these partnerships look really impressive on the outside, but when you dig down deep into the guts of it, there could be some challenges. This is not a doom and gloom presentation, I promise. We'll get to the good stuff. And then we're also facing increased regulations. So thinking about the Department of Education, they've heard horror stories about many of the for-profit providers in terms of false promises, degrees that don't transfer to employment. And so they've really cracked down over the last few years and have been proposing regulations that potentially restrict all universities in the way that they deliver their courses online. I think I have no doubt that we'll be able to hit all of those. It's just going to be increased effort and time to meet those regulations. It's going to put an increased burden on us delivering those in the future. And those are happening as we speak in terms of clock hour, gainful employment, and things like that. And the last one, which is going to be a buzzword for global for the next several years, is awareness. I am continually surprised that individuals who should be in the know don't know that Washington State University has an online degree option, a global campus. And so we're really working towards improving that awareness. The challenge is, if we look at many of our competitors, as an example, and I know I've used this one in this room before, Southern New Hampshire University, if you look at their annual marketing spend, it's $130 million a year. We don't spend $130 million a year in marketing. And so what we're going to have to do is be much more creative in the way that we create awareness of the global campus and the degrees that are offered through that program. And I'll get to some of those in the later part of the presentation. So those are some of the challenges. They're daunting. They're definitely there. They're going to be a challenge, but I do think we have an opportunity to overcome them and to excel. So what I want to do now is just kind of give you a snapshot of where we're at and then talk a little bit about where we might be going. So in terms of enrollment, we've come down a bit since the pandemic, but that's primarily in our MBA program. The MBA program was managed by Pearson, and they went to a new provider. And over the last couple of years, they've really been challenged. I think it's something like 400 to 500 less headcount than they had a couple of years ago. And so that really has brought down our overall enrollment. But our undergraduate enrollment continues to grow. We're at a record enrollment for our undergraduate. This spring, I think we're down a couple of students, but we're still at that historic high of the pandemic. We really thought once the pandemic ended and things went back to normal, if they ever really do go back to normal, we would see a return back to the 2019 numbers, and that has not happened. We've stayed consistently high. In fact, we are seeing a change in our population. We used to average between 5 and 10 freshmen in our online program. We just weren't built for them. They came to a traditional campus. Now I think last fall we were about 120 freshmen who've enrolled in the global campus, which is surprising in a good way and surprising in we need to rethink our support structure. Our support structure has really been built for older working adults, And we get younger students who are coming to us, not necessarily as our students of the past have because of their life and the things that are going on, working full-time, kids, taking care of aging parents. It's a lifestyle choice. They might choose to travel the world. They might choose to stay home and work and study online coming out of the pandemic. So I think that's a changing aspect of the work that we do that we're going to be dealing with in the future as it continues to grow. The other thing I mentioned yesterday, and I just want to point this out, in addition to our 3,700 online students, the ones who only take online courses, don't set foot on a physical campus, this last fall, we also had over 3,500 campus-based students that have chosen to take an online course for whatever reason. They want the convenience of it. They don't want to enroll at the 8 a.m. English class that's available Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's the only one left. So they might end up going to an online course. The thing about this, and I remember Daryl and I talked about this when we first thought about blending CAS courses with global courses. There was a concern that if we open the online courses up to campus-based students, that we would have an overwhelming number of campus-based students taking online courses, and they would fill their schedule with those courses, and the on-campus courses would struggle. We started very slowly, and as we began to look at that, that was not the case. What we found is that students were taking one course. They come to campus to be on campus. They want to go to class, and maybe two courses, but the majority of students were taking one online course rather than filling their schedule with online courses. And as I mentioned yesterday, this is something that's just happened. It hasn't been strategic, and I think it's something that we need to be more mindful of in planning as we move forward into the future. So, average age of global students is 31. This year we have 28 countries. This last fall we had students from 28 countries enrolled and 48 states. I apologize, I don't remember what the two states that have chosen not to participate are. I know it was Delaware last year because we were at 49 students or states. We've got 77% of our students are Washington residents, so still dominant Washington residents. We have 35% students of color, 35% first generation, and 65% of our students are female. Yeah. And then the two other ones that we don't talk about a lot, which it really has become part of time to degree, is our summer session and our winter session. Summer session is pretty straightforward. We continue to grow in our online enrollment every summer. Winter session is the same way. When we first started it, we anticipated this would be a program for freshmen and sophomores coming in to kind of knock out some courses. They might have had a problem and wanted to continue on. But really, it's a program for juniors and seniors. They've gotten to a point in their academic career and they realize, uh-oh. And so they come to winter session, they take a course and they get back on track for their time to degree. One of the stats I'm really proud of is that I don't have the numbers for last winter yet, but the winter before, 91% of the students enrolled in a winter session course earned a C+ or higher in their grade. And keep in mind, that's a 3-week course delivered over the holiday season. It is the expectation, and they know this going in. There is a time expectation that you're going to put in to do these courses. And I think with that awareness, we have a very high completion rate and high performance rate. Okay, and the last thing, and these are fun things, but for me, they're important things. From my perspective, there's so much more to a higher education, and I don't want to say than just going to class, but things where you experience different type of things that you wouldn't have experienced on your own. You may not have made the choice to attend that seminar, participate in that event. But I think that's one of the powerful things that happens when people come to one of our physical campuses. We want to replicate that online. And I have to admit, in the beginning, it was definitely a challenge. We started out with primarily 10 to 15-minute lectures by faculty that delivered on home brewing to nanotechnology to dream analysis to taking care of a toddler. And people would come together, they would build an affinity. Oftentimes it was 2 people, maybe 5, and they would just talk with the faculty member. And now it's evolved into really a full-scale program that really is about student engagement. The thing I like about this and that I love about the outcome is we're creating cougs. They're not just coming here to get a degree. That's an important thing. That's a great thing. But they leave being cougs. They're part of a family. They're connected. When we have our graduation ceremony and we talk to those folks that are walking, they're no different than any other graduate from any other campus. They see themselves as part of this family. That's really inspiring. And I think it's programs like this, that connection that helps aid that engagement and connectivity. The one I point to all the time, and I don't know if it's on here yet. I went to it and I thought it was hilarious, fun, and exciting all at the same time as they did a virtual dance party. We hired a DJ and they played music and there were all these Zoom screens. Oh, there you go. You might host for us. That would be great. Yeah, I did not dance, and that was a good thing for everybody. Okay, so some of the opportunities. I think if we look at where we're at now and where we're going, I think I mentioned this yesterday. I think one of the things that I can do a better job of are strategic partnerships. That we were really shocked, surprised when Starbucks announced that they were going to partner with Arizona State University for their degree program. We felt we should have been in that space and we weren't. And so thinking about moving forward, I think corporate relations with Alex Peach and the global campus could provide some really interesting statewide opportunities for workforce development and employee upskilling that we need to understand from those corporations what they're looking for, what they need, and to be able to act on that. And it may not be the size of a Starbucks, but it may be 20 smaller companies that have the same training needs that we can work with to devise custom curriculum for. So there's a couple of things that are, I'm going to say not happening, but are exciting and could happen. So we've partnered with the College of Education and we've partnered with Zoe High Eagle Strong to think about actually deliver a proposal to do elementary education in tribal communities. And it's again a different population where Zoe says many of those folks don't want to leave their community. And so if we can bring the education to them through global, that's a win for everybody. And so we're looking at delivering a degree program in elementary education this way. The other one that's in not even formal proposal stage, but just almost a pro forma, if you will. But again, it's exciting because we've never done this before, is we've been trying to get the undergrad in computer science degree online for a while. And the faculty there just don't have the bandwidth. And so Kirk and I and Elizabeth and I have been talking about, thinking about faculty on the global campus. What does that look like? How might that work? Well, this is the first shot at that we're looking at global funding faculty who would reside on the global campus, who would be part of that academic department, who would deliver that online degree through global campus. Never done that. That kind of changes the game for us. Very exciting. See where that one ends up. Apologize. And then the one that really I think has the opportunity to really change the DNA of global is through fundraising. We hired a development director a couple years ago. It's not lying. It's been a challenge trying to engage those students, but we're starting to see progress. We established the Society of Distinguished Alumni for the Global Campus a couple years ago. We've got 6 inductees. They were inducted at halftime at I know it was the Arizona State, and I think it might have been the Stanford game. Yeah, and anyway, we've asked two of those members if they would serve on our volunteer campaign committee, and they both accepted. And again, that's just another step in opportunities. We're going to be participating in, Mike, I'd turn around and look at you and acknowledge you, but I'm not going to do that. Cougs in both of those events, and we actually have a global campus event that's going to happen in Phoenix that we've never done before. So I think there are a lot of opportunities ahead of us. I think there are different ways that we I think we're going to see global in a different way, but I do think we're going to be better for it, and I do think we're going to be much larger as we engage in some of these things. So I'll stop there. There's a lot more I could talk about, but it's kind of like a graduate student talking about her dissertation. There's lots of things that we can mention that are really interesting to me, but may not be interesting to you. So I'll stop there, and if I'll entertain any questions that you have for me, or comments or concerns.
Regent Ramos.
Yeah, Chancellor Soleil, thank you so much for the overview. I guess, I've heard the reputation of the program is about quality and engagement. And can you just speak to the instructors, the professors, and how, we might be able to help, or just give us some insight on the people that make Global Campus happen?
Yeah, currently, right now, I mean, what we message is it's the same degree, same curriculum, same faculty as you would get anywhere else in the system, and I think that differentiates us with some of the other players. One of the models that's out there right now is a scaling. It works for scaling really well, but it relies on facilitators, and so you have a master professor who develops a curriculum, and then you've got a number of facilitators who are called faculty, but are not part of the university community. They may do one of these things, and so it's a very different model. We've been recognized for our quality, and Kirk's got a great line, and I think it's true. External. Sorry, Kirk. External awards are really important when you do well, and they're not as important when you don't. But we do well when we're evaluated by outside. We've been consistently in the top 25 in the U.S. News and World Report over the last decade, and I've got to believe as we move forward, our rankings are going to improve as well. So, Regent Ramos, does that get what you're asking? Oh, sure.
Since you gave me a hard time yesterday, I thought I would put you on the spot here.
I didn't sleep well last night, knowing that I'm coming in today.
And I think I know the answer to this question, but I think it's important especially for our regents, as they are our ambassadors for all of our campuses to know. But I believe that one of the other things that differentiates us is that we focus on providing degrees and other credentials, whereas a lot of programs, I know from having been part of them, seek to raise revenue and so offer individual courses. So let's say I just happen to be interested in, Washington archaeology, and then you get a grad student to teach a course, and maybe teachers around the system, around the state take it, and it's a revenue generator, provides a service, but it's a one-off course. And I believe that Global doesn't really focus on that particular market. And I was wondering if, that might be if there is a desire to raise what's the enrollment, it could potentially be a gateway if someone takes one course and they're like, wow, that was really great. Now I want to go on and get a degree. So
we do have a number of students who are non-degree seeking who come in and take a single course. But you're right, that has not been a strategy of ours. One of the challenges, two of the challenges that has really popped up in the last few years are programs like edX and Coursera, Udacity, and these are all businesses that curate courses from universities and deliver those through a single hub. And the universities who do that, the Harvards, NYU, the MITs, they go through those type of hubs. I will say that I've contacted, especially in the early days, Coursera at least 3 times, and they weren't interested in partnering with us. That may have changed, but to your point, Elizabeth, when we have nationally recognized faculty who deliver courses, highlighting those might be a strategy that we could leverage in the future. Yeah.
Dave, I just want to express my appreciation for your continued leadership of our global campus and bringing these new ideas in a very dynamic space. And I think I appreciate the fact that as you work with our faculty and others about new models and how to grow, keep the quality of the experience is the first thing and not the revenue generated is the first thing. Clearly we want to generate revenue, but I've watched other places get into this for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And I just think at the end of the day, it's really important. So I appreciate your continued focus on that and your ability to work across campuses. You don't force things to happen, you create opportunities and people move to that spot. So thank you. To our regents, if you ever have an opportunity to attend an in-person global graduation, it is a very inspiring experience because you'll see people with children or grandchildren from out of state. First time they've been in the state of Washington will be to come to one of these ceremonies, and they'll just say, this didn't exist. I would never have been able to do it. Get a degree and do this. And I moved 5 times. And it's a different set of students than you see in some of the other areas, but equally as inspiring. So we'll make sure everybody gets an invitation to perhaps participate in that.
That would be fabulous. Thank you very much.
I have one follow-up question. So as we're talking about the number of students, so you mentioned it's almost the same, pretty close to the same, of campus-based students that participate online. Are we utilizing our current faculty to teach to those students? So Dr. McDonald would be in a class perhaps and then be teaching to online students and then also in person, or how does that work?
Absolutely, and she does.
In my online class, I love my online class. I just think fabulous with students with interesting stories that make the effort to know me and I know them, even though we never meet face to face. And I want to come to graduation.
Oh, absolutely, that would be wonderful. The answer is yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. One other follow-up. I have the opportunity to have started my WSU volunteer service on an advisory group and have seen the power of your advisory group. And so this is, as we talked yesterday about the strategic plan, you also have an advisory group that meets with the leadership within the global campus, similar to Tri-Cities campus, Vancouver, Everett. And that group is a very impressive group. And I was hoping for those that are unfamiliar with maybe your advisory group, if you could maybe just introduce a couple of the folks that maybe participate on that advisory group, because the companies that they represent are impressive as well.
Yeah, I won't mention names, but I'll mention Mike Miotti from Wasac is on our advisory group. Eleni Papadakis on the workforce development. We've got Marie Braun from the state board. We have a new member, James Gundy, who is a special forces veteran who works with veterans to do transitions. I'll send out a roster to
That was
everyone.
kind of a pop question.
Yeah, thanks for
Really,
that.
I
Thanks
just
for that.
am so impressed that we have community members that are showing up to support the global campus, just like we have community members showing up to support each of the physical campuses. And so it is impressive and continues that commitment from outside of the university to say this is an important program and we're willing to be part of that. So appreciate your leadership, Chancellor Slay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Seeing no other questions or comments. Thank you. Good luck with the deck. All right, so we're going to move into our consent agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda before us today, which was included in your packet. It's the approval of minutes of November 17th, 2023 Board of Regents meeting. Would any regent like to remove this item from the consent agenda? All right, hearing and seeing no one express interest to do so, I move to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? Thank you, Regent Ramos. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signal by saying yay.
Yay.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? All right, motion passed. We're going to move into our shared governance reports, and we'll hear from our shared governance partners. So first to present is Advancement, which encompasses the Foundation and Alumni Association, Vice President for Advancement and CEO Mike Connell.
Good morning, everyone. Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think we may have Lester Barbero out there somewhere. I want to make sure Lester's on or jumping on. So Kyle is, all right. Actually, I think I'll start with Lester and then we'll swing back to me. So Lester, if you're ready, take it away. Lester Barbero, President, WSU Alumni Association from Hawaii. Lester.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Good morning and aloha from Honolulu. Excited to be with you guys this morning to talk about our amazing Alumni Association. I want to start off by talking about our WSU events. Along with our colleagues from the Foundation and Enrollment Management, the Alumni Association is looking forward to hosting WSU events nationwide in the upcoming months. These events connect Coug fans, friends, supporters, future students, and their families in cities across the country, bringing WSU to them. As previously mentioned by President Schultz, on January 31st, the Hawaii chapter and myself are thrilled to be welcoming him, Mr. Mike Connell, Regent Shower, and other WSU leadership to the Prince Waikiki Hotel in Honolulu for an evening with WSU. We are at capacity and excited to connect with over 200 current WSU parents, future students, and their families, alumni, and friends. This will be the largest WSU event so far. We have Cougs traveling from our neighboring islands of Maui, Kauai, and the Big Island. Two of our recent grad speakers, Aaron Tadoki and Chantel Rita, are not only active volunteers for the Hawaii chapter, but recipients of the Alumni Association's Volunteer Service Award. They are two of 12 Hawaii Cougs that have been presented this award over the past 5 years, the most of any of our 54 chapters and clubs association-wide. So with all the Cougs attending next week, the accolades presented to our alumni here in Hawaii and the alumni events that we host year-round here throughout the islands, it's a reflection of our energy and enthusiasm for our institution. To our visiting leadership, you'll not only feel the Cougar spirit while you're here, but you also feel the Aloha spirit. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all next week. From February 12th to the 16th, WSU heads to Scottsdale to host events such as a recent grad alumni panel and a men's basketball watch party to engage with alumni and friends in Arizona. And finally, as mentioned by Regent Shower earlier, we host WSU in Palm Desert on February 26th, headlined by our signature Cougars of the Desert event, which includes a golf tournament and a wine and cheese social with keynote speaker Regent Enrique Cerna and raising money for student scholarships. Thank you to Regent Cerna for serving as keynote speaker for this event. Last month, I had the honor to speak at fall commencement and welcome more than 1,700 new grads across the WSU campuses to the Alumni Association with a free 3-year membership powered by BECU. We enjoyed a December commencement open house at the Lewis Alumni Center where graduates rang the victory bell to celebrate their accomplishments. For the first time, this event was held in conjunction with our holiday celebration. More than 150 guests and grads took photos with Santa Butch and made festive holiday crafts. We are pleased to announce that WSU Global Campus has joined the partnership with the Alumni Association and WSU's Academic Success and Career Center to offer the mentorship platform Cougs Connect. This platform will connect WSU alums and current WSU students from all campuses, allowing them to network and build connections. We're excited for the launch later this year and have connected with several schools that use the platform to ensure Cougs Connect is a success. Speaking of our students, there are still a few days left for students to apply for WSU AA scholarships for the 2024-2025 academic year. The Alumni Association is offering over $285,000 worth of scholarships. They're open to all WSU students, full and part-time, from all WSU campuses. The deadline to apply is January 31st. Thank you to Leilani Carpenter, Roxanne Moore, and the Board Scholarship Committee for everything you do for our scholarship program. And finally, a quick word about Wine by Cougars. Cougar 10th from 5-star Cellars is still selling strong. And today we're excited to announce that Wit Cellars will create Cougar 11, which will hit the market early this fall. That's all I got. Pending your questions and comments. Happy Aloha Friday. Go Cougs. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Lester. Great report. Anybody have any questions for Lester? Any comments relative to the Alumni Association before I pivot? Okay. Thank you again, Lester. Many of us look forward to seeing you next week. Lester mentioned a number of WSU in events, and I just want to provide a little more background and context. Many of us in the development space, are often on the ground in other markets, and Kirk is very generous with his time and kind of politely said a couple of years ago, hey, while we're here, can we spread our wings a little wider and do a little more? And so these are a reflection of that concept and the idea of, hey, if we're going to go to Hawaii, why not do a little more? Let's pull in Saiichi and his team and talk about enrollment management, talk about recruitment. Dave talked about his team and their involvement from Global when we're back in Scottsdale. We did an event at Scottsdale last year, so we're going back to Scottsdale. And so my message to you, the Regents, is that we are working across the different elements of WSU, and that we're not seeing things just through a singular lens of alumni relations or development or enrollment or global. I think we're doing a good job working across those avenues throughout the West and the important markets for WSU. A couple other things, and I know oftentimes I've mentioned Kirk and I, he goes first, and so I'm over there crossing things out. So I'm going to supplement some of Kirk's comments and Lester's comments. Let me quickly jump to Scottsdale. Our board has an offsite gathering once a year. We will be in Scottsdale for a couple of years for that meet, or in a couple of weeks for that meeting. And we have new leadership for the WSU Foundation. I'm grateful for Lisa King, who many of you have gotten to know over the years, for her guidance. Her successor is John Minjay. John's an 83 alum in mechanical engineering and retired from BP America. And then the vice chair is a woman named Liz Pritchard. Liz has retired from media sales. She spent most of her career on the East Coast and is now in Upper Michigan. So just really grateful for Lisa King's leadership and John and Liz stepping in. We've got new board members. We did our orientation with them last week. So it'll be the first chance for them to be in the room together. And frankly, I've had to miss the last two gatherings in Scottsdale. So I just look forward to being in the room with our board. Lester will be there, as will Katie Keene, his successor when Lester's term wraps up as ex-official members of our board. Let me talk just briefly, of course, about the numbers. We do count gifts. And so just a quick update. As of this morning, $73.2 million in private support to WSU. That's a little ahead of where we were last year, which I'm grateful for. We did have a large commitment come in last year in February. And so while I'm proud of the work we've had, we may shortly be behind last year. That's how fundraising works when you go year over year. And so the team's done a good job. And I'm very grateful for the responsiveness of our donors to the various appeals. It has been a pretty crazy year. As Kirk mentioned, the last 6 months or 12 months have created a little bit of headwind for us across a number of fronts. But our donor base is responsive, and I'm grateful for that. And I continue to be grateful for Kirk's time and effort. Kirk talked about the endowed deanship. I'm so appreciative of how this whole thing played out. When Chip announced his departure, Kirk and I and others talked about the benefits of seeking donors to endow the deanship for recruitment purposes and to strengthen what is already a really good college at WSU. The principal giving team, led by Victoria Miles and Brooke Liedemore, it's not like we put a sign up and said for sale. I mean, our team spends a lot of time trying to figure out who might be interested in funding an endowed deanship at WSU, working with Kirk. Eventually, we identified some folks, and they indeed were responsive to the request. And to Kirk's point, when we go through the celebration announcement process relative to these two contributions, I think we'll have the wow factor that we're looking for. And most importantly, it will allow us to recruit an exceptional person to lead the Carson College. And Kirk and I and the team continue to look at who might be candidates to endow the deanship in engineering as Mary transitions out, who are potential candidates to endow the deanship in education. We'll look more broadly at those sorts of opportunities. When you've got that endowment behind you, you've got a chance to recruit some of the best in the country in these fields. And Regent Peak and I were chatting yesterday about endowed chairs that they did at Children's. And to veer off script a little bit, the first endowed chair at Children's ended up recruiting the gentleman that did surgery on my daughter when she was 8 years old. So the power of endowed positions, recruiting the best, frankly, Dr. Cohen might have been the best in the world at what he was doing at the time. And so I have a personal passion for endowed positions. My team right now is helping Elizabeth and others rewrite or refresh the policies and guidelines on endowed professors and chairs at WSU. So these endowed leadership positions matter. And as we recruit our best leaders, I'm grateful for the responsiveness of donors in this space and seeing the power of it, and continue to be grateful for Kirk making the time to go out and talk to people about this. The endowment value as of 11/30, $668 million. We should get the 12/31 numbers shortly before the investment committee meets in February down in Scottsdale. So December was a pretty strong month in the market. So the endowment continues to grow. That generates, using round numbers, about 4% back to students, to endowed faculty and chair positions, endowed programs, endowed excellence. And so leaders have the opportunity to have some discretionary funds. And so I'm grateful for the endowment, the donors that continue to contribute to it, and the investment committee for their management of those funds. So again, we'll have the 12/31 numbers in February. In my written report and prior comments, I mentioned some training the team was doing. We finished the first round of that, had tremendous participation from the team around just refining some of our development activities. And we will be stronger in terms of how we go about our fundraising processes. I've also, and it was in my written report, we're still ironing out some wrinkles associated with the implementation of our new CRM. I really am appreciative of our IT team. We've not had one down day as we go through this conversion. We're not where we need to be in terms of some of the reporting protocols. I appreciate folks saying, holy cow, this has taken a while. The analogy we've used, because you say, isn't it just an upgrade? I want you to think of transitioning from a boat, maybe a rowboat, as a means of transportation to a car. Okay, they both are means of transportation. We're building a whole new platform and a whole new methodology. And again, the IT team's done a great job. Each day we get updates, and now we're able to do this, and couldn't do this yesterday. Should be able to do this next week, but we're still not fully functional. But it's not due to a lack of effort or focus. The team, they've done a fantastic job, and I'm grateful for that. Maybe lastly, I just want to Kirk talked briefly about the piece by John Wilner that came out last week. I think John Wilner may be the most credible media source on the West Coast relative to college athletics. He has a better understanding of the journey that Kirk and the president of OSU have been through than the person that's just venting on social media. And so I appreciate John leaning into acknowledging the navigation that we, the two universities, have been through. And then I want to thank you, the Regents, for your confidence in Kirk. This is a different journey if you blink and start to question his decisions, or you become divided. And so we are a heck of a lot better off because of your willingness to have confidence in Kirk and ask the right questions, but stay the course. So I just want to extend my gratitude. As I mentioned, we've had some headwind and advancement. I don't want to try to fathom what that headwind had been like had any of you fractured or splintered off or lost confidence in Kirk. So I'm really, really grateful for your leadership, individually and collectively. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions any of you may have relative to the advancement enterprise.
I'll start. I concur with what you just said, Mike, and applaud President Schultz and staying the course as we needed to do. And we've been through some hard times and, we're going to land out okay. So quick question for you. First, congratulations. You're on pace with another great year, sounds like. I'm curious, chairs, professorships, the, if you will, price tag on those, is that set by, is that a standard thing within your peers? Does it ever change? Is it, what's that look like?
Yeah, as our team is revising that now, we did look out at, because, at one of the challenges we all run into at WSU is peers. But we are looking at what are appropriate levels within WSU to have an endowed professorship or an endowed chair. Those numbers come in, $1.5 million or distinguished chair, that sort of thing. So it's a significant investment, but it provides really important resources to the individual that ends up in that position. Yeah. So again, we're working with Elizabeth's team and Leslie's team to make sure we get to the right place.
And do they vary? Are they, is a chair in ag the same as it is in the business school?
Thanks for asking. It's a great question. And we looked at that and ultimately decided they will be uniform. And, but that wasn't without contemplation. Yeah. Good questions. Thank you.
Just wanted to quickly applaud you and Lester and of course the foundation for their work. I've seen all the marketing for the scholarships and I know that's a lot of great work and you're really supporting students by finding these amazing donors and of course creating opportunities for students and continuing to support what it means to be a Coug. So I just want to, on behalf of students, just thank you for the work that you do and the work that your team does. Of course, Lester, because of the work you do, you give so many more students opportunities. And I just wanted to make sure I thank you.
You are absolutely welcome. And we facilitate. The donors, they are the driving force behind it. Yeah.
Regent McDonald.
I'd like to thank you for a neat idea that Elizabeth, I know you had part of this, was naming a classroom.
Yeah.
And then using funding to keep our classrooms running. It's not like it was 15 years ago when we built a classroom and we put up blackboards or whiteboards and we were done. Our technology needs to be refreshed regularly. And I just thought that was a really innovative idea. And we have noticed, we faculty and students have noticed the difference it has made. And I hope we can do more of that.
Thank you. And I just want to supplement Regent McDonald's comments that, the PACCAR, their investment in technology in the Spark building has changed teaching and learning at WSU. And we're grateful to PACCAR for their support. It's, their name is on the outside of that room because they invested in that technology and in that space. To Alex Peach and Kirk's been very involved with the leadership of PACCAR. Kirk mentioned Hawaii, and I appreciate the occasional eye roll. Boy, tough gig. Everybody's off to Hawaii. Just to be clear, Kirk's got 7 visits on 3 islands in 2.5 days. In addition to the event, 2 of those visits are corporate, 5 are with individuals. We'll get our share, Kirk, while we're in Hawaii.
You say that with enthusiasm and excitement.
First trip to Hawaii, 35 years of development at WSU. So, yeah.
You may be able to make up your February in Hawaii, right? End of January.
We will do our best.
Thank you for your report. Always appreciated.
Great to see you. Thank you.
All right. I'd like to welcome our Faculty Senate Chair, Eric Sheldon.
Hey, everyone. Thank you all for allowing me to report. As always, it's an honor and a pleasure to represent the faculty of Washington State University to you. I'd like to start by also thanking the Board of Regents and Kirk and Elizabeth for their support their leadership. We had a meeting with both President Schultz and Provost Chilton the other day, and I expressed that it was great that we finally passed some major hurdles, and then the next thing has come up. So it's always busy. I think in listening to other people report and looking at my own report, which has I think 6 bullet items, I'll go through them real briefly. But I did want to mention that Faculty Senate is busier than maybe this list of items conveys. There are, as you know, the Faculty Senate is involved directly in compliance and formulating new degree programs and courses. I think there's about probably a dozen such items that come through Faculty Senate every 2 weeks as the faculty at Washington State University make adjustments and address new challenges and new needs for students across the state. And all these things have to be examined and checked for compliance and meeting requirements for reporting and the like. And also thought needs to be given to how all of these things fit together through the entire system in its effort to meet the land-grant research and teaching mission of the university. We also serve as a collecting house, I guess, for faculty concerns. And again, we want to really appreciate, thank Kirk and Elizabeth for their willingness to have our guidance and address our requests as this goes forward. In terms of the specific things, as I said, we met recently with the president and the provost. We've also met with the enrollment management team, Saichi Oba and Andrew Bruick, and really appreciate their efforts. Some good news coming out of their offices in terms of new student enrollment. We've worked with many other partners across the campus system. One of them was Officer Jenkins, who's the chief of police to Washington State University. He presented to us earlier this late last semester, I guess. We've also brought concerns to him throughout the semester, and I just want to say he's been extremely responsive and helpful in addressing faculty concerns about campus security issues. We have participated in the selection process for a number of upper administrators. We're involved in the search for the new provost. We are also have participated in the interview of the vice president for external affairs and government relations. We're really excited that Glenda Becker Venter was chosen as the VP, and we're looking forward to working with her. I should say we also meet regularly with Faculty Senate's representative to the legislation, which is Senator Steve Bolins, and he in turn is very active in discussing faculty concerns and priorities with Chris Mulick and the president. And again, we appreciate that opportunity to inform leadership about faculty concerns. Tracy Klein, who's the chair-elect, is a faculty person on the Vancouver campus, is also on the search committee for the next WSU provost. As I said, we are busily approving new courses, both on the face-to-face and global. I should say I apologize for not being there today in person, but I'm going to be teaching some of our future doctors and veterinarians in class later this afternoon on the Pullman campus, so I can't be there. And then finally, I had the honor, as Lisa already mentioned, of attending the commencement and helping our future alumni graduate in December. So with that, I will conclude my remarks and take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Sheldon. I want to express my appreciation for the open communication I have with you, and continue to really appreciate your willingness to share faculty concerns and and really tell us when things are going well. And so I think in our last conversation, there were a lot of things that were going well. And there is a recognition that while we have achieved much, there is much left to achieve. And we do have problems. And those problems create significant opportunities, particularly when we're partnering together to work through and find solutions that help us move forward. So I appreciate you continuing to partner with us. I was curious if you could share a little bit about Regent Redmond isn't here, and she kind of asks each time, what's the morale of many of our groups that report to us. Could you just share a little bit about, as we start 2024, how the faculty might be feeling about starting the year?
I will do my best. I should say that as you are probably well aware, that the people who have the greatest concerns are the most likely to speak up. And I think it is notable that we in fact don't hear from an awful lot of faculty in that regard. I mean, I think we were all aware of, for example, the concerns that were raised around the graduate student union and the uncertainties that created. And we heard from 3 faculty about it. So given that we have over 2,000 faculty in the system, I think that sounds pretty good to me. I assume the Board of Regents is well aware of some of the overarching issues that faculty are facing. AI is just a huge game changer. We approved a committee yesterday to try to look into how that's going to affect teaching and accreditation issues. So there's turmoil. I mean, the world changes quickly, and adjustments need to be made. I think overall, faculty recognize Washington State University as a great place to have a career and to live and work across all of the campuses. Although there are real challenges and real concerns, I continue to think that most of the faculty feel that WSU is a good home for them.
Great, thank you. Are there questions or comments from other members of the board? All right, I look forward to our next opportunity to connect. Thank you, Dr. Sheldon.
Thank you, I do too.
All right, we are going to hear next from our associated students of WSU Global, President Abigail Shondas. Welcome, Abigail, and please tell us a little bit about yourself too as you get started with your report today.
Hello, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the board for having me today. As the Madam Chair said, I am Abigail Chandos. I am the Associated Students of Washington State University Global Campus President. A little bit about myself. I am a psychology major with double minors. Oh, sorry, my camera likes to freeze on me. With double minors in sociology and at-risk youth. I am a mother as well to a 3-year-old. He is currently at my mother's house, so I can be here for this meeting and not have any interruptions because he loves the spotlight. So I do have a presentation. I don't know if you all are able to pull it up or if I should share my screen. Perfect.
I think we have it, yeah.
Appreciate that. All right, so I just wanted to give a little bit of an update for everybody what ASW SUG has been up to this year. So I have a timeline. Back in May, our new executive board was established and training began. We have had a few changes to our board this year. We have decided to eliminate the Director of Academic Affairs position. We found that there just wasn't enough for that one person to have a complete dedicated job. We have dispersed those duties between the president and vice president mainly. We have also increased our Director of Diversity's role. They are also going to be our student justice peer educator for Global Campus. So that has started this year, and we are very excited to implement that for future years to come. In September, we had a hybrid event on Pullman campus. We partnered with the Chicanx and Latinx Student Center. We hosted muralist Jose Nuke Montalvo, and we enjoyed a night of Mexican food, mariachi, painting, and a wonderful presentation by Nuke. And that was a great hit. Love to see that global engagement in person. In December, we introduced a new reimbursement. So ASW SUG offers a wide variety of reimbursements to our students. We offer grocery vouchers to address food insecurity needs. We have childcare reimbursements, mental health and wellness reimbursements, travel grants if anybody wants to travel to an ASW SUG event. We have technology reimbursements. We have cap and gown rental reimbursements. We have technology reimbursements and honor society dues reimbursements. And I believe that was all of them, but I may have forgotten one in there. But we did establish a brand new internet reimbursement. For the time being, as it is in its infancy, we are offering up to $50 per student per semester when they submit a internet bill. And we recognize as distance learners that internet access is an integral part of being a distance learner. If we do not have the internet, we cannot participate in our classes. So definitely trying to ease the burden for our students in that way. I will say for this next point, January, we did unfortunately have 2 students who weren't able to come last moment. So this does say a record 8 Global Campus students, but it is still a record of 6 Global Campus students who traveled to Olympia to lobby with SGC. That was just this past Monday, so fresh off of that, I have heard just wonderful feedback from all the students from Global Campus involved. I think that as Global Campus students, we do tend to represent that non-traditional student demographic. And so I'm very, very pleased that we were able to be there and share our unique perspectives. March 2024 coming up, we are planning on hosting a week-long virtual career fair. So in the past, ASW SUG has hosted an in-person career event with the hybrid availability of Zoom as well. We have found that in-person events just are really hit or miss for global students. We are instead this year trying to meet students more where they are. So instead of having folks travel or even from their home having to set aside an entire day sorry, lost my words there, to participate in our career day. We are instead doing Monday through Thursday, a couple hours each evening with different topics. So we will be going over topics of applying to grad school. We will be going over how to build your LinkedIn, how to search for a job, how to build your resume. So really all these little pieces that folks, if they feel comfortable with one of those aspects, they can also just elect to not attend that one and attend the ones that are more beneficial to them and their journey. And then coming up in May, we will be having our 3rd annual Global Campus Commencement. We also host a reception dinner that is hosted by ASW SUG the night before. So we are very, very excited. We did have to find a bigger venue this year to accommodate the growing number of Global Campus folks who are coming out to celebrate with us. So we are incredibly, incredibly excited. That is also a hybrid event. And I know this story has gotten thrown around, so I'm sure many folks have heard this already. But last year there was one student who was hybrid and he zoomed in from the labor and delivery room because his wife had just given birth to a child moments before. So very, very exciting that we have that opportunity to honor all of our students and no matter which way they are able to attend. So that is my report, and I would love to answer any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move to our Graduate Professional Student Association, President AJ Barman. Welcome, AJ.
Happy New Year and good morning to everyone. My name is AJ Barman. I am the president of Graduate and Professional Student Association, and it's my honor to present the updates and the upcoming events that GPSA is working on. So first, I would like to start with our updates from our last semester. On November 16th, we organized a food drive event partnering with our WSU Pullman campus student. And this event was to address the food insecurity of the student, and especially during the winter break when the Cub is closed, our Cougar food pantry is closed as well. So many of the students do not have access to proper food during the winter break. And so that's why during the food drive event, we managed to gather 1,000 pounds of non-perishable food from the local community, and we donated the food to the Cougar Food Pantry, where the students have the opportunity to stock up before the semester ends and our holiday begins. And moving forward, the second update that we have, GPSA funded 21 registered student organization. And this is the funding registered student organization is one of the major thing that GPSA do to include diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus. So some of the registered student organizations that we funded are Association for Women in Mathematics, Iranian Student Association of WSU, Graduate Pride Alliance of WSU, Graduate Society of Women Engineers. And for many of the RSOs, GPSA is the only source of funding for them, and all the RSOs actively working at WSU campus, and it helps the WSU's motto towards diversity, equity, inclusion. So we are really proud of this movement. For our third update, GPSA hosted a coffee hour on January 8th. The reason we hosted this coffee hour, we wanted to have an open house in our GPSA office and welcome all the students, especially the graduate and professional student, and hear from them how they want us to move forward for 2024. Like what things we can improve, what criticism they have, or maybe what suggestions they have for us. But unfortunately, we were expecting over 100 participants during the event, but as we know, January 8th, our Pullman and the entire Pacific Northwest was facing Arctic blast, and the weather was really cold. -4 Fahrenheit was the temperature, but despite the cold temperature, 20 graduate students show up in our office, and we had a really warm and lively discussion during the coffee hour. And moving forward for our upcoming events, so even though it's in the past now, we hosted Cook Day at the Capitol, partnering with all the WSU campuses. Around 80 students went to Capitol Olympia, including 10 graduate students, and we met with more than 70 senator and legislature to talk about 6 specific agendas. So the first one is our Washington College grant. The second one, the Basic Need Act Proviso. The third one is rent stabilization, childcare, WSU Native Scholarship Proviso, and undocumented student support. Moving forward, GPSA is going to host a fundraising reception on March 1st, 2024. The entire fundraising initiative will be going towards our travel grant effort. Unfortunately, during 2020, when our travel grant budget was 120,000, due to the shortage in fund towards GPSA, right now our travel grant fund is 80,000. But going to traveling for graduate student is really important because attending conferences give them the opportunity to meet with the other researcher from their field and also showcase WSU in front of a larger audience. So that's why we want to host a fundraising event this year so that we can keep supporting our students for their travel grant. Right now, we have the graduate school, US Bank, and GISA Credit Union as our partner. But as we will be moving forward, we will be reaching out more and more donors to fund our cause. For our third upcoming event, one of the biggest events that GPSA hosts, which is partnering with graduate school, we organize research exposition and academic showcase. We have almost 6 categories. We have total of 6 categories. For example, agriculture and natural resource science, physical and social science, art and education science, and many more. So right now, 156 students submitted their abstract, and our award and scholarship committee, they are reviewing all the abstract so that we can select the finalist for our research exposition presentation, and it will be more than 60 students. So with that was the update from our Graduate and Professional Student Association, and I am open to any questions.
Great, thank you. That was an excellent report. Are there any comments, questions from the rest of the board? All right, thank you, AJ. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right, we have our Administrative Professional Advisory Council Chair, Angie Center. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me today. APAC is pleased to report the following. Our November meeting, we focused on the AP Enhanced Compensation Plan review and a really robust Q&A with HRS. And then in December, we were able to meet with HRS again and go over retirement benefits and retirement planning. And this was a really important meeting for constituencies as those elections are usually created at hiring. So it was nice after several years of service to take another look and make sure those trajectories are appropriate for our employees. And this month we met and discussed Percipio, the learning knowledge-based program that's available to all faculty and staff, as APAC is in support of encouraging personalized, immersive, and accessible learning for WSU employees. And we learned that that program was expanded to include an AI simulator. So our staff can actually go on and practice some skills with an AI bot and get feedback in real time. So it was a lot of fun to get to play around with some AI for a little while. And on your screen, you are looking at the winners of our annual photo contest. So this is just something fun that we do. We had 65 submissions across all campus locations. And these beautiful photos won our employees some cans of Cougar Gold cheese, which is always fun to give out. And lastly, we are cruising into my favorite time of year, which is AP Appreciation Week. That will be March 4th through the 8th. We'll host several professional development webinars, and we will have our AP Contribution Award Ceremony, which is scheduled for March 7th. We will host that live in Pullman in the Cub, but also stream it via Zoom to all of our other constituencies. Is there any questions?
That was a fast report. Are there any questions from the, thank you, from the rest of the board or comments? All right, thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna head into our Board of Regents Committee reports. So there are 3 action items from yesterday's discussion. And I just want to mention the day on Thursday is always a big day, which means that as we go through these action items and it seems like we're moving relatively quickly, it's because we've spent so much time the previous day having a discussion. So with that, I'm going to keep us moving forward. The first action item that I want to bring up from the Executive and Governance Committee is the board's conflict of interest policy updates. And so I move that the Board of Regents approve proposed revisions to the Board of Regents conflict of interest policy, BOR1. Is there a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say yay. Any opposed? Thank you, Regent Shetler. I'll pause a little bit longer so that we can get our online voice to be heard. All right, hearing no disagreement, motion has passed. The second item to vote on is the board's committee charters policy updates. I move that the Board of Regents approve proposed revisions to the Board of Regents policy on committee charters, BOR3. Is there a second? Thank you, Regent Dickinson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Yes, I am.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion has passed. The final item is to vote on the Board of Regents 2025 meeting schedule. I move that the Board of Regents approved the revised schedule for the 2025 Board of Regents meetings and delegate authority to the president of the university or his designee to select and designate appropriate meeting places, establish meeting times, establish the agenda and prepare agenda items, dispatch all official notices to meet the state Open Public Meetings Act or other notice requirements, publish minutes and maintain record of meetings, and take other necessary action as required for the orderly conduct of board meetings as proposed. 2025 dates include January 23, 24, 2025 in Seattle, March 6th and 7th in the Tri-Cities, April 17th and 18th in Spokane, June 5th and 6th in Everett, September 18th and 19th in Pullman, and November 13th and 14th in Seattle. Is there a second? Thank you, Regent Pika. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, we're going to move next to our Strategic and Operational Excellence Committee report. Regent Shetler.
Thank you, Chair Schauer. Much appreciated. Yesterday, the Board of Regents Strategic and Operational Excellence Committee meeting covered 1 discussion item, 2 information items, and 2 future action items. I'd like to thank all of the presenters and their teams for their hard work, diligence, and progress on each of their initiatives. Each of the presentations exhibited a high degree of operational excellence. So thank you all very much. The 1 discussion item was presented by Vice Provost of Enrollment Management, Sachi Oba. In November, Executive Vice President for Finance and Administration and CFO Leslie Brunelli shared a review of tuition affordability for Washington resident undergraduate students and provided information on current tuition cost, available financial aid, impact of fees on total cost, and market competition with other public institutions in the state. As part 2 of that conversation, yesterday's presentation was focused on WSU's enrollment management, the improvements year over year, the challenges, and new initiatives going forward. Sachi gave a very robust and informative report, and thank you for that, Sachi. The first information item was presented by Vice President and Chief Information Officer Tony Opheim, who shared an overview of WSU's information technology status. Tony identified strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Tony's presentation was the first in a series introducing Regents to key operational areas under finance and administration at WSU. I'd like to add that Tony has raised the bar in this space. He and his team are quite adept and thorough, and I appreciate the diligence of Tony and his team in this important space. The second information item was presented by Vice President for Strategy, Planning, and Analysis, Christine Hoyt. Chris shared an update on the WSU System Strategic Plan. Again, there's been a lot of good work and progress made in this space by Chris and her team. We have made solid progress over the past 3 years, and the success is attributed to the diligence and focus of Christine and her team. Thank you for delivering positive results for WSU. We had 2 future action items, one that we will move to vote in a few minutes. The first future action item was presented by Chancellor of Global Campus, David Saleh, and we heard from him earlier this morning, and he provided a thorough overview of WSU's Global Campus Strategic Plan. Now on to the future action item that we will vote on momentarily. Rafael Punita, WSU Trio Student Advisory and Chair of the Regents Distinguished Alumni Award Committee, presented the committee's award recommendation. This item was presented as a future action item and recommended for action by the board today. As there were no objections to moving this to an action item, it is being presented to the board now for approval. So Chair Schauer, will you please take the Regents through the vote on this action item?
Thank you, Regent Shetler. I wish to have it noted for the record that it was decided that this item would be presented as an action item rather than a future action item in accordance with the Board of Regents bylaw 212B. So I move that the Board of Regents approve the recommended candidate as the 2023 recipient of the Regents Distinguished Alumni Award. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion passed.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Regent Shetler. I want to add that while this committee had to move quickly through presentations towards the end of our time together, the work that has been done in the strategic and operational excellence space is just tremendous. And I want to also offer my appreciation to Regent Shetler for your work in this space over the last year. Now moving into year and a half, I think the impact has been significant. The dashboards, the measurements, the graphic representation you and Chris have worked on just has really been incredible to see that come to life in terms of our ability to really be engaged with our strategic planning. So appreciate all of the work that's being done. Thank you. I'd like to move to our Academic and Student Affairs Committee report, Regent Pika.
Thank you, Chair Shower, and our committee report is rather brief. It includes one future item to act on later, one that we will vote on today, and a couple of informational items as well. The future action item was really discussed and presented by Provost Chilton on the prospect of establishing a Master's of Energy Conscious Construction degree, both at WSU Pullman and the global campuses, and that we are going to hopefully act on the prospect of that acting on in March when we're in Tri-Cities. There were two informational items. The first of them pertaining to the presidential delegated authority, which was presented by Provost Chilton, and the other really has been spoken to by both our Chair Shower and President Schultz pertaining to where we are today here at Seattle Children's. You heard about the classroom setting that we visited yesterday, and we took a very informative tour of this building called Building Cure. And we were led by two scientists who were both WSU graduates. That was fun and exciting. And the thing that I just wanted to add to that was that prior to our meeting as regents, there was what I would call an informal symposium. I think it might take the shape of a future annual symposium where researchers from both WSU and Seattle Children's here gathered, and they met in this room, divided into groups. And it's said that when you put researchers together, good things are about to happen. And I think that was the case. There was a lot of enthusiasm about that session. We had dinner together that night, and they will be meeting again. And I think we can expect that there's going to be actual outcomes in the future as a result of that session. So we can stay tuned for that. Like the Strategic Planning Committee, there was a future action item which was presented where there were no objections yesterday to present it today as an action item, and that's pertaining to our honorary doctoral degree nominations, of which there were two. Dr. Asher did a wonderful job, inspirational really, of presenting two nominations for consideration, and we thank her and her committee. And so we'd like to put that to you for your consideration today for approval. Chair Shower.
Yes, thank you. I wish to have it noted for the record that it was decided that this item would be presented as an action item rather than a future action item in accordance with the Board of Regents bylaw 212B.
So I move that the Board of Regents confer the two presented candidates for honorary doctoral degrees from Washington State University.
Is there a second? Thank you, Regent Cerna. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there?
Yay.
Yes, sorry, one moment, please. Thank you, the one time today. Okay. I'd like to first, before we take an official vote, ask, is there any discussion?
So I have the one.
Could you use your microphone? Thank you, Regent McDonald.
Okay, I had the wonderful opportunity of supporting this motion when it went through Senate steering, and so in an effort not to vote twice on the same issue, I was recused from voting because I've already. And here you.
Thank you, Regent McDonald. Any other discussion? All right. Hearing none, let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor?
Yay.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Great. That concludes our report.
Thank you, Regent Pica. I'd like to move us next to the Finance and Administration Committee report. Regent Ramos.
Thank you, Chair Shower. I am pleased to report on behalf of our committee leadership, Regent Cerna, McDonald, and Shetler. Thank you for your inquisitiveness and to help us prepare for our meetings. Yesterday, we had an in-depth 3-hour marathon meeting. Everybody did their homework and read 200 pages of detail. So while my report is brief today, I just wanted to compliment the team on the material, the quality, the transparency, the information that we all get to share has evolved over time. And we're just really pleased with the expertise that we have to rely on our leadership here. So with that, we had three information items, 9 future action items, and 2 action items, which we will advance an additional one today for approval. So first off, I will just highlight a few of our important learnings from yesterday. The first being that I am really, I'll just say, grateful for the leadership, President Schultz, of your entire team. We had an in-depth audit of the financial system that began a planning process in June of 2023. It had been accelerated. It included a comprehensive workday assessment, and we had 0 findings. So kudos to everybody involved in that. So information items included our fiscal year 2023 annual financial report trends and our debt report. We also had a fiscal year 2024 financial performance update and an athletics budget update. Again, the data was high quality data, and we appreciate the partnership of the leadership team and the exemplary way in which our Executive Vice President, Leslie Brunelli, has stepped into the role in her short time here and really led the effort for excellence. We have a number of future action items, including fees, our activities fees, our undergraduate technology fees, and some policies and practices revisions. But one thing I do want to highlight here in this section of our future action items, we had a student, Sophie Kirov, who is an undergraduate of the biochemistry school, and she reported on behalf of the stakeholders, our students, and the inputs into the fees. And so while I won't go into detail, I just want to compliment Sophie on her outreach to her peer students and for giving us the insights that we need to really understand firsthand as we make some of the decisions that we do on fees and tuition. So with that, I would like to go into the action items. There are 3 action items from yesterday's discussion. First and foremost is the proposed academic year 2024-2025 tuition rates. And I'd just like to remind everyone that we started to have this discussion back in October, in the fall, where, you know, we come together, we ask questions, we inquire about context, competitiveness, affordability. I appreciate the partnership with Regent Shetler and his committee team to give us context on this important decision. So with that, the first action item to vote on is the proposed academic year 2024-25 tuition rates. And I move that the board set tuition rates for academic year 2024-25 as proposed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Regent Pika. Is there a discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Go.
Thank you, Regent. Thank you, Regent.
Okay, well, so thank you for,
Here we go.
oh, there
Okay.
you go.
I think we
Okay.
just had too many with microphones on. Thank you, Regent Marroquin. Motion has passed. Regent Ramos.
Thank you. The second action item is with regards to our WSU Foundation investment policy and the proposed amendments. I move that the Board of Regents approve the proposed amendments to the investment policy statement.
Is there a second? Thank you, Regent Powell. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Regent Ramos.
Thank you. Yesterday, we also discussed the ratification of residency agreements. This item was presented as future action item and recommended for action by the board today. As there were no objections to moving this to an action item, it is being presented to the board now for approval.
I wish to have it noted for the record that it was decided that this item would be presented as an action item rather than a future action item in accordance with the Board of Regents bylaw 212B.
I move that the Board of Regents approve and ratify the current master agreements for medical residencies and delegate to the president or designee authority to approve agreements executed pursuant to the master agreements.
Is there a second? Regent McDonald. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
That concludes our committee report. Over to you, Chair Shower.
Thank you, Regent Ramos. Yesterday, January 25th, 2024, the Regents met in executive session with legal counsel to discuss pending or potential litigation involving the university. And related to that discussion, we have the following action item. I move to adopt resolution 240126-704, approving the tentative settlement of Whitman County Superior Court case number 23-2-00273-38, and delegate authority to the president or designee to sign and take any other steps needed to finalize this agreement. Is there a second? Thank you, Regent Dickinson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion passes. I just want to add to this last piece here how significant this moment is and how appreciative I am of President Schultz's leadership, of Leslie and Pat and Nathan. This has been quite a journey to get to this place. And I think that President Schultz fielded multiple calls from not only this group at this table, but from those outside of this group saying, we need to fight and we need to demonstrate our commitment to our student athletes. And Nathan, with your leadership and with the collaboration between finance, athletics, and legal, we have had a historic victory. And so this is something that we should all celebrate, but it has been not without those at this table really being steadfast, because we've had a lot of folks willing to tell us what they think. And it hasn't always been in the same path that we've been moving forward. And so this is a big moment. And it has taken a significant amount of time from our team to make this happen. And so I appreciate everyone moving this forward. And I'm glad to see we're out of the fog and we're into action, and the future has many possibilities. So it'll be fun to see how this moves forward. With that, we have a public comment period, and we have two individuals that have requested to speak to the board. And so I will allow 10 minutes of the meeting for the public to provide comments. I understand that both of our speakers that would like to address the Board of Regents are available and online. And so with that, I will go with our first speaker. I'd like to just remind you that you have 2 minutes, and we'll go ahead and get started now. So William Ingalls.
Good morning. I am Bill Ingalls, part-time WSU faculty and an affiliate of the student group Fossil Free WSU. Last month, the number of institutions worldwide committing to fossil fuel divestment reached the 1,600 mark. More than 250 U.S. educational institutions have committed, including New York University last August. In response to a student campaign, NYU committed to divest its direct holdings in the world's largest 200 coal, oil, and natural gas companies. University students are a major force behind the growing international divestment movement. Student activism has taken many forms. Last October, students at 6 U.S. universities filed complaints with their state's attorney general over a failure to comply with a state law. It seems the university's fossil fuel investments violated the law's requirement to protect the public interest. Students at another 12 universities filed complaints prior to this. As you're aware, WSU students are calling for divestment through the Fossil Free WSU campaign. I urge you to listen to their demand for divesting the university's holdings in the world's largest 200 fossil fuel companies. More than 1,000 WSU students have signed the petition requesting this divestment, and the Associated Students of WSU Senate recently passed a resolution to support the Fossil Free WSU campaign. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you addressing the board. We also have Ryan Culp here available to provide feedback to the Board of Regents. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead, Ryan.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Ryan Cole, and I'm a senior here at WSU. I am part of the Fossil Free WSU movement as well. I'm also the treasurer for the ESA, which is an RSL. I wanted to begin by acknowledging the progress that has been made by the Board of Regents creating the WSU Sustainability Task Force with members that include WSU students. A few of us from the ESA and Fossil Free WSU are on the task force. We look forward to helping shape the university's vision of sustainability and fulfill its commitment to sustainability-related goals and maybe future achievements. We are currently preparing a recommendation for fossil fuel divestment that will be included with other recommendations to be voted on by you, members of the board, this spring. We plan to include in the recommendation a timeframe for completing the divestment and a provision for tracking progress. We will work to prepare a recommendation that both meets the demand for timely action on climate change and its financial feasibility. We hope that you will approve the recommendation when it is brought to you. And once again, thank you for the opportunity to give comments today.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. We certainly appreciate when we have folks that show up to our board meetings and provide input. I just want to add that we have also several of us reached out to have follow-up conversations. And so Regent Ramos.
Thanks, Regent Shower. I just want to thank Dr. Ingalls and Ryan, and I know Simon Smith and others who have followed up with me after their comments and back in September as well as earlier in January. So we seek to listen, to understand, and to really, assess our ability to take action on these very important topics of sustainability and fossil free. So thank you, Dr. Ingalls, for being here today and for sharing the message and the new information.
Thank you, Regent Ramos. I know Regent Dickinson had several meetings as well. So when we have public comment and don't necessarily respond in the moment, it's not that we are not listening, we are, and we want to be actively involved in the conversation. So thank you for taking the time. All right, we are at the point of the meeting where we are going to wrap it up, and we're about 10 minutes past when we thought we would be concluding the meeting, and so I think that's pretty good. I want to really share my appreciation for the team that helps us get ready for what is about a marathon to full days. We actually asked that we started a little earlier on Wednesday so that we had the opportunity to spend time with those that are hosting us at Seattle Children's Hospital. And so a shout out to Kyle and Tracy, and Ginger was here today. We have had the support of Joel, who has moved on to another division in the organization and will not be supporting the Board of Regents. Thank you, Mike Connell. We appreciate his support and what he has done as well. So it does take a team to make this happen, and we are grateful. I want to demonstrate my appreciation to President Schultz. There's a lot happening, and we appreciate you and everything that you're doing. So with that, I will end us with a go Cougs and enjoy the weekend. Thank you all.